start to practice yesterday. You're always looking forward to the challenges of the season, and you're also looking forward to the challenges of things that you need to work on to try to develop your team, the individuals on your team, so that they have a good chance to be successful and that we can go compete at a very high level. And I think everybody's got to say, and I've said it to them, and I said it yesterday, is, what will we be in 30 days? And what are you willing to do to get there? What sacrifices do you have to make? What relationships, leaderships do we have to build so that we have sort of the intangibles that we need to compete at a high level on a consistent basis? And discipline and toughness are two things that go a long way in helping players develop that, because it certainly helps them sustain in difficult circumstances. And I think fall camp is a difficult circumstance that a lot of players have to learn how to work through. How do you stay focused when you're tired? Are you going to make mental errors? You're going to loaf? You're going to do the wrong things? Well, that's really kind of enduring and not really showing the mental toughness to sustain. You got to have a strong breaking point if you're going to be a good player and a great competitor. And we're trying to create a unique excellence with every player on our team, and that's the only way we'll have a good team. So everybody's got choices to make. You're going to endure, you're going to try to survive this camp, or you're actually going to make a commitment to thriving to be, the best player that you can be. If you're going to impose your will on somebody else, the first thing you got to do is impose your will on yourself, all right, so that you can do the things, like you need to do them. It was really kind of interesting that I talked about all these things, and, we had Eric Thomas speak last night, and he talked about the difference between being the beast and just winning. There's a difference. When you're the beast, you never hold back. You don't just do what you have to do to have success. You're striving every day, to be the best that you can be. So that's certainly what we would like for our players to look at every day, to accept every challenge and try to thrive on those challenges the best they can so they can improve and be the best players they can be. We enjoy Fan Day. It's a little bit unusual that the way we sort of changed the rules, that we're not a little more down the road in practice before we have this. So this probably, I think, is the first time we've ever had it where we're in shorts and helmets because we're going through the acclimation period, which I think, incidentally, is really, really good for players. It's probably good for player safety. It's good for the players to be able to step their way back into football in terms of the gear that they wear, the amount of contact that you have, and those types of things. So there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of players on our team at a lot of positions. And we're trying to get some of the young players on the team that have an opportunity to take advantage of these circumstances to sort of develop the consistency they need to be able to do their job on a consistent basis and develop the respect and trust of their teammates. So you're going to get the opportunity to talk to two new coordinators, today. The transition that we've had with these guys has been, pretty painless because we really didn't change offenses. We didn't really change defenses. We didn't change terminology for the players. So we have an Alabama defense and we have an Alabama offense. And it was an Alabama defense and an Alabama offense last year. And just because we change the people that implement those things doesn't mean that we're going to change everything about it. All right, so, and that's the way it is. I know you'd rather hear something else and ask, well, what's going to be different about your offense, Mike, and what's going to be different about your offense, Tosh? And the fact of the matter is it's Alabama's offense and it's Alabama's defense. So, sorry.
Start right here with Ben.
I
think it was a week or two ago on SportsCenter, you said that you thought the number one concern for the team this fall was replacing some of the production on defense. Why do you feel like that's the case?
Well, that's a really easy answer. Do you all know how many players we lost last year on defense? And how many of those guys got drafted? And how many of those guys we have to replace? So it's a pretty easy answer to figure out that because of the experience that we lost, the number of players that we lost, the opportunity that creates for inexperienced players, especially in the secondary where we lost 6 players who did the most of the playing, and we have not one starter back, a guy that started 2 games, I think, maybe. So at linebacker, yeah, both guys started a few games. Both guys were hurt a little bit. We've got 3 guys in the front that has ever really played in a game before. So that's probably the least amount of returning experienced players that we've ever had. And as much as you guys look at statistics and as much as you look at stuff on paper, that should be pretty easy for you all to figure out.
On the back of Cecil.
Coach, just to follow up on Tosh in particular, who's not been a coordinator before, and I know you mentioned continuity, but what were some of the qualities? Since he came in, probably with as much of a reputation as a recruiter, as an on-field coach, what are the qualities you've seen in Tosh that made you comfortable with promoting him?
Well, he has done a great job of recruiting for us, but I think he's really developed as a coach. I think he's taken it upon himself to not want to be a guy that was viewed just as a recruiter or just as a guy that could coach the front. He's really, really committed himself to learning the big picture, the coverages, the secondary. I've spent a significant amount of time with him doing that. And I think he's made a tremendous amount of improvement. Now, regardless of how much someone knows, when you've never been a coordinator before, it's a whole nother ball game to be able to implement it, when the fur flies. And we'll help him to do that. I also think that the other people on the staff that we have to complement him that have been coordinators, like Pete Golding, can also, be a real help, in some areas that will help us implement when the game comes.
Middle left of Reiner.
When you talk about the quarterbacks having to win the team, do you solicit feedback from members of the team, say the leadership council, or do you just assess that on an individual basis from your past experience?
No, I think we assess it from we don't have a straw vote on the team as to who they think the quarterback ought to be. I don't know that it would be like any election. Most people don't get elected unanimously. So therefore, it would be a divisive vote that probably would not be healthy for the togetherness of the team. I think these things have to be made at a little higher level based on a set of circumstances relative to consistency in performance, other players believing in leadership, a lot of factors that come into that as a coaching staff, not just me, we have to make a determination as to how we should play the quarterbacks. All right, now what you guys are totally fixed on is somebody has to be first team and somebody has to be second team. Tell me why. I'm asking you, why? You can't answer that. Well, then why? I'm asking why. I mean, why do you think that way? I mean, if there's people on our team that can contribute, I mean, why would we not utilize their abilities to be able to contribute on our team in some form or fashion? Just like when we have a guy that's a great DPR and we put him in on third down and he rushes the passer. He's not a starter. But I guess at quarterback, that just doesn't matter in you all's mind.
We'll go front here with Wayne.
Coach, got two things. First, on Ruggs, obviously he had 6 touchdown catches last year. I had to win the national championship game. What is your expectations for him going into this season? And two, being that you talked about competing and breaking points and things of that nature, how much are you looking forward to seeing how Jalen and Tua respond to that on a day-to-day basis in camp?
Well, that's part of the evaluation for every player at every position. And I think that goes a long way to know how they'll play and compete in the game and how they'll respond and persevere when things don't go well, because they'll be able to stay focused on, the next thing, and they won't get affected by what happened on the last play. So I think that's important at every position. I'm not in the creating expectation business. That's pretty much what people like you all do. You make a guy a 5-star, he made 6 touchdowns, so we're going to make him, be whatever this year. That's what you do. We fight against that. All right, we don't want players to have expectations. We want them to have goals. And how many touchdown passes they catch is not a part of the goal. It's an outcome. My expectation for Ruggs is become a complete player at your position. Run every route, every blocking assignment, give great effort on every play, go cross field and get a block that helps some other guy run 70 yards for a touchdown. All right, so we want him to be a complete player at his position. How many passes he catches and how many touchdowns he scores is going to be an outcome of that. That's different than an expectation or a goal. To me, I don't have that expectation for you, but to me.
Okay, we'll go right here with Alex.
Since you've brought it up a few times now and even kind of hinted at it just now, how much have y'all, I asked you this earlier this offseason, but how much have y'all actually looked into playing both quarterbacks, evaluating how those systems have worked in the past?
We haven't done it at all. We're practicing every day. We're evaluating every day. We're trying to get both players to play at a high level every day. I want them to be focused on what do they have to do to win. Competitors and people do not create negative contingencies. I mean, when I played or when our team plays, I don't run out the tunnel saying, we're going to lose today. When I played quarterback, I didn't say, I'm going to throw an interception. I said, I'm going to throw a touchdown. That was how I was thinking. I didn't say when we called this play that we were going to get sacked, or it was going to be a loss. I'm thinking what I got to do to execute on that play. So we're trying to take the same positive attitude with the quarterbacks every day, and that's what I want them to think about. I do not want them to think about negative contingencies. What if? What if this happens? What if that happens? And you're asking me a what if both quarterbacks play, and I don't have an answer for that. I don't have any. What do you call those things? What do we call that when we what if?
Hypotheticals.
Yeah, hypotheticals. I mean, that's a hard word for me.
We'll go in the back with.
I had enough issues here without creating some, situations that might happen. That what will you do if this happens?
Couple more, we'll go back with Scott.
Nick, it's rare that a running back makes a decision like Damian to come back. You can sense he kind of enjoys college life, enjoys this. Was that a convincing conversation with him? Was that an easy conversation? And then what do you expect from him?
Well, I think it was a business decision. I think that, we take the information that we get from the evaluations that we get from the NFL, and we say, okay, here's your situation and here's your circumstance. And I'm not going to tell you what that information was, but if you're a first-round draft pick, to me, it's a no-brainer that you go out for the draft. And we've had 29 guys go out, and we probably had 4 guys that made, not so good decisions. And I don't think any of those 4 guys played past much longer than a year. So they should have stayed in college. And we have a lot of history here of guys doing the right thing. Because if you have a first-round grade, you still might get drafted in the second round. If you have a second or third round grade, to me, you have a tough decision to make as to whether you come back and try to move up or graduate, stay in school, and the benefits of all that. And to me, you know, every guy's a little bit different in what their goals and aspirations are. But I think we could all agree, all right, that there's far too many guys, all right, that are deciding to come out for the draft that it's not a good decision. They don't make the team. So now they're not in college. They have no place to play. Maybe this new league that they're talking about may offer that. But, you know, it's kind of an all or nothing in football right now because there isn't a developmental league. So you either, and your security is really created by where do you enter the league. So the higher you get picked in the draft, the more guaranteed money you have, the better off your security circumstances are because you're not going to get cut if you have a lot of guaranteed money. So now they have to develop you. But when you get drafted in the third round, you're rolling the dice big time. I mean, you may end up great, all right, but you're still going to play for a low number, all right, for 3 years, maybe 4, and how do you make that up? So you come back to school and you become a first-round guy, maybe it's worth it. So, but every player has to make that decision, and it's a business decision to me. And I think Damian made a business decision relative to what he thought was best and what was in his heart in terms of what he wanted to do. So, you know, and we're happy that he came back. I think we had some other guys this year, and all you have to do is look at where they got drafted, and if they had eligibility left, was that the best thing for them to do from a business standpoint? But I always tell players, look, it doesn't do you any good to come back if you're not committed to coming back and you don't want to work hard to get better, because then you don't create any more value for yourself. So you're just wasting time, but you're taking a big risk, you know, being a late round draft pick going out for the draft, because your chances of making the team probably aren't that great. Your chances of getting a second contract based on statistical information are not very good either.
Last one, real quick here with Michael.
Just wonder where you think progress you've seen from Najee Harris since last season and where he can go this year.
Well, I think Najee is obviously at the end of the season played really, really well for us. He made progress last year, got more confident in what he was supposed to do, how to do it, how to run the plays, how to read the plays, understanding the pass protections better, and being a more effective guy in the passing game. And I think that progress has continued over the spring, and also, I mean, we've only had one practice so far, but he hasn't done anything to disappoint. And I just think that he has more maturity, more confidence, and a better understanding, and I think that should help him be more productive.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.